The United States quarter dollar, officially known as the Washington quarter, holds both numismatic and historical significance within the broader landscape of American coinage. Introduced in 1982 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the quarter continued to bear his image ever since, making it one of the most enduring designs in U.S. currency. By 1982, the quarter had already seen several decades of continuous circulation, with its design largely unchanged since the 1932 debut by sculptor John Flanagan. The obverse front of the coin features a left-facing bust of George Washington, with the word Liberty above his head and the motto, "In God We Trust," to the left. The date 1982 is located below the portrait. The reverse back depicts an eagle with outstretched wings clutching a bundle of arrows, with two olive branches below, symbolizing both military readiness and peace, a recurring theme in U.S. coinage. The 1982 quarter is especially noteworthy to collectors because it was minted during a time of significant transition and economic challenge in the United States. The early 1980s were marked by high inflation, recession, and rising metal costs, which had already led the U.S. Mint in 1965 to switch from 90% silver coinage to copper-nickel-clad composition. By 1982, the Washington quarter was being struck from an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a core of pure copper. The total weight of each coin was approximately 5.67 grams, with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and a reeded edge, which helps deter coin shaving. What makes 1982 particularly significant in numismatic circles is that it marked the first year the U.S. Mint did not produce any uncirculated mint sets for collectors. This decision was a result of budget cuts and a reduction in collector-focused minting, which created an unintended rarity. Uncirculated 1,982 quarters in top condition became much harder to find. This lack of official mint sets has led to a premium on high-grade specimens, especially MS-65 and above mint state. Most of the 1982 quarters found today were released into circulation, making them subject to wear and reducing their overall value, unless in exceptional condition. In terms of mintage, the 1982 quarter was struck at 3 different mint facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D; and San Francisco, S. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 500 million coins, while Denver struck around 480 million, making both issues common in circulated grades. However, the San Francisco Mint did not strike quarters for general circulation that year. Instead, it produced proof coins exclusively for collectors. These proof quarters were struck with highly polished dies on specially treated planchets and exhibit a mirror-like finish with frosted design elements. They bear the S Mint mark and were included in 1982 proof sets, which continue to be produced even though the regular uncirculated sets were suspended. Adding to the collector intrigue, 1982 also saw the introduction of noticeable varieties and striking errors. Most notably, some 1982 quarters show weak strikes, offset minting, or double-die varieties, especially around the date and lettering. However, the most famous variety from this year is the no mint mark Philadelphia quarter. Before 1980, Philadelphia coins traditionally had no mint mark, but beginning in 1980, the P was added to dimes and other denominations. Yet, quarters from Philadelphia in 1982 still lacked a mint mark, which can sometimes cause confusion for novice collectors who might think their coin is a mint error, though it is, in fact, normal for that year. Despite their high mintage, finding a 1982 quarter in brilliant uncirculated condition is a challenge, especially from circulation. This is because without mint sets, collectors have fewer opportunities to preserve pristine coins. As such, most available coins from that year are circulated, with visible wear and lower grading scores. For example, a 1982 D or 1982 P quarter in circulated condition is typically only worth its face value or slightly more, around 30 cents to $1, depending on condition. However, certified examples in mint state 65 or higher can fetch $20 to $75 or more, depending on demand and eye appeal. Proof versions with deep cameo contrast and flawless surfaces can be valued even higher, especially in PR 69 or PR 70 condition. Professional grading scales out of 70. In a broader context, the 1982 quarter represents a transition point in American coinage, not just because of the mint set cancellation, but also due to evolving technology and policy changes at the U.S. Mint. During the early 1980s, new coin presses, laser engraving, and computerized die creation began slowly replacing older mechanical methods. These developments would later culminate in the introduction of the State Quarters program in 1999, which would revitalize public interest in coin collecting and dramatically change the look of the U.S. quarter. But back in 1982, the quarter was still seen largely as a utilitarian piece of currency, not a collector's item, making the few that were preserved all the more desirable today. The coin also has cultural and economic implications, symbolizing a time when Americans were adjusting to new economic realities. Gas prices were high, interest rates were volatile, and unemployment was climbing. The quarter, a daily use coin, passed to the hands of millions, vending machines, laundromats, toll booths, embedding itself in the fabric of everyday American life. The wear on each 1982 quarter tells its own story of commerce, of struggle, of survival through a tough economic era. For many collectors, that historical resonance adds immeasurable value beyond just condition and grade. In conclusion, the 1982 United States Washington quarter is far more than a common coin. It is a historical artifact shaped by economic constraints, minting decisions, and collector dynamics. Its relatively high mintage belies the challenge of finding pristine examples, while its place in the timeline of U.S. currency marks a pivot between traditional and modern coinage. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a casual enthusiast, the 1982 quarter stands as a testament to the enduring relevance of even the most familiar pocket change. Next, top 2. The 1983 United States quarter dollar is a significant coin in the annals of American numismatics, not because it is made from precious metal or boasts an unusual design, but rather due to the historical, economic, and minting circumstances surrounding its production. Struck during the presidency of Ronald Reagan, the 1983 quarter belongs to the broader Washington Quarter Series, which began in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the nation's first president. The coin's obverse front bears a now iconic portrait of Washington, sculpted by John Flanagan, a prominent American sculptor who based his design on a bust created by Jean-Antoine Hedon in 1785. The bust is characterized by its neoclassical realism, showing Washington in a statesmanlike manner, facing left, with the word liberty inscribed above his head, the date 1983 below, and the motto, "In God We Trust," to the left. The reverse back side features an eagle with wings outspread, perched on a bundle of arrows with 2 olive branches beneath, symbols of war and peace respectively, along with the inscriptions, United States of America, e pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, and quarter dollar along the bottom. The 1983 quarter was produced at 2 mints, Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, the mint mark. Notably, there were no mint sets officially released by the U.S. Mint in 1982 or 1983 due to budget cuts and a national recession, making high-quality examples of these years' coins difficult to find. This scarcity has turned the 1983 quarter, particularly those in uncirculated condition, into a sought-after collectible among numismatists. While billions of coins were minted, with over 673 million struck in Philadelphia and over 617 million in Denver, nearly all entered circulation and were subjected to heavy wear. As a result, pristine or near-pristine examples can command premiums far beyond face value in the collector market. This is especially true for 1983 quarters that have strong luster, full details, and no signs of wear, often referred to as mint state, MS coins, which are graded from MS-60 to MS-70. Those graded MS-65 or higher are relatively rare and can fetch between $20 and $200 or more, depending on their condition and the grading company. The coin's composition is another point of interest. Post-1965 quarters, like the 1983 version, are made of a clad composition, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. This results in a total composition of roughly 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, weighing 5.67 grams and measuring 24.26 millimeters in diameter. Though it lacks intrinsic metal value, Its collectible worth stems from condition rarity and historical relevance. Interestingly, because of the national economic downturn in the early 1980s, there was a sharp increase in coin circulation and a halt to certain collectible programs. This resulted in fewer coins being saved by the public, which is one of the key reasons why collectors today struggle to find high-grade 1983 quarters outside of rolls or private hoards. In terms of errors and varieties, the 1983 quarter also holds fascination for specialists. The most famous error is the 1983 P double die reverse, which shows a noticeable doubling of the letters, especially in E pluribus unum. This error is rare and highly prized among collectors, with high-grade examples sometimes commanding hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Additionally, due to heavy die use and poor quality control during the early 1980s, many 1,983 quarters show signs of die cracks, clashing, or weak strikes, which further adds to the allure for those who collect mint errors or anomalies. The Denver issues are generally better struck, but the Philadelphia quarters are often more valuable due to lower quality control standards and the aforementioned double die error. Furthermore, the coin represents a snapshot of American history. In 1983, the United States was emerging from a severe recession. Unemployment was high, and inflation was being wrestled down with tough monetary policies from the Federal Reserve under Paul Volcker. Reagan's administration emphasized deregulation and tax reform, laying the groundwork for what would become known as Reaganomics. This era of transformation, optimism, and economic challenge is etched into the coins that change hands every day. The 1983 quarter, in this light, becomes more than a piece of metal. It becomes a symbol of everyday American life during a period of uncertainty and change. It jingled in the pockets of workers, paid for coffee, gasoline, and telephone calls, and was perhaps saved by a child in a piggy bank, representing hope and modest prosperity. Collectors and historians alike value coins like the 1983 quarter not just for their numismatic worth, but for the stories they tell and the eras they represent. Unlike commemorative or silver coins often purchased as investments or souvenirs, circulation coins are true artifacts of the public. They were used, worn, and passed from hand to hand across cities and states. In conclusion, the 1983 quarter dollar, despite its common appearance and non-precious metal content, is a coin rich in character, context, and complexity. It stands as a testament to a transitional decade in American history and the enduring legacy of George Washington as a national icon. Today, it lives on in coin albums, online marketplaces, and museum collections, continuing to capture the fascination of numismatists and history lovers alike. Next topper 3 top. The 1980 quarter dollar is a coin issued by the United States Mint as part of the ongoing Washington Quarter Series, which began in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The 1980 edition, like others from 1965 onward, excluding special silver proofs, is made primarily of copper-nickel clad, not silver, making it a modern, circulating coin rather than a precious metal issue. Still, it holds numismatic interest for collectors due to variations, mint marks, and historical placement during a transitional era in American coinage. Design and artistic features. The obverse front of the 1980 quarter features the iconic profile of George Washington, sculpted by John Flanagan in 1932. This design was based on a bust by French sculptor Jean-Antoine Hedon. Washington faces left, with the word liberty inscribed above, the national motto "I in God we trust" to the left, and the year 1980 placed prominently at the bottom. The design is classical and clean, with slight modernization in details, as dies were re-engraved and updated over the years. The reverse back carries a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, clutching a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength, and an olive branch beneath, representing peace. This design also features the inscriptions United States of America, the motto E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one, and the denomination quarter dollar. The reverse design remained unchanged from 1932 until 1998, giving a consistent visual identity over decades. The 1980 quarter is part of the clad coinage era, post-1965, with a copper core and nickel outer layers. Specifically, it is composed of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, weighing 5.67 grams. It measures 24.26 millimeters in diameter and has a reeded, ridged edge. This composition replaced the earlier 90% silver coins and was introduced to conserve valuable metals and reduce production costs. The 1980 quarter was minted in 3 major U.S. mints. Philadelphia Mint No Mint Mark, the largest mintage. Denver Mint D. San Francisco Mint S. Primarily for proof coins. Production totals were substantial. Philadelphia, no mint mark, over 635 million coins. Denver, D, over 518 million coins. San Francisco, S, proofs, around 3.5 million coins. These high numbers reflect the coin's role in daily commerce, though high mintage also limits its rarity. However, pristine condition coins, MS-67 and above, or proof coins from San Francisco hold greater collector value. In 1980, the United States was in a period of significant political and economic change. The country grappled with high inflation, interest rates, and energy concerns. Ronald Reagan would be elected later that year, signaling a conservative shift in American politics. The coin, though modest, was exchanged in a landscape of transition, where economic issues led Americans to become more conscious of money, even in small denominations. The late 1970s and early 1980s also saw increasing interest in precious metals investing due to inflation, prompting people towards silver coins from pre-1965. Although the 1980 quarter is not silver, its metallic value and design tie into that era's monetary anxieties. Thus, the coin is a small but telling artifact of its time. While the 1980 quarter is not famous for major varieties, collectors seek off-center strikes, double die obverse or reverse, clip planchets, die cracks or cuds. Such errors are relatively rare but can command significant premiums, especially if dramatic. The Philadelphia Mint in 1980 had quality control issues on occasion, leading to minor collectible flaws. Proof coins from San Francisco might show cameo or deep cameo finishes, desirable for their mirror-like contrast. In circulated condition, the 1980 quarter is usually worth face value, 25 cents. However, in uncirculated condition, MS-65 and above, values can reach several dollars, and even more for MS-67 grades. Proof coins are generally worth between $2 to $5, depending on condition and cameo quality. Grading is key. Coins are assessed using the Sheldon scale, from poor, P1, to mint state, MS-70. The best 1980 quarters, slabbed by services like PCGS or NGC, hold the highest value. In particular, a perfectly struck and preserved MS-68 or PR-70 quarter from 1980 is quite rare and can fetch collector interest in the $100 plus range. The 1980 quarter stands near the end of a long chapter in U.S. coin design. By 1999, the 50-state quarters program would replace the traditional eagle reverse with dynamic state-specific designs. Thus, the 1980 quarter represents one of the final years of the original Washington quarter era, a standard bearer amid 20th century American coinage. The fact that the design lasted over 6 decades testifies to its national significance and public recognition. The Washington quarter's longevity outlasted many presidents, artistic styles, and economic policies. For new collectors, the 1980 quarter offers an inexpensive entry into numismatics. It is readily available, easy to recognize, and a great example of clad coinage. For advanced collectors, high-grade specimens, full strike examples, and rare errors are worthwhile challenges. Interestingly, the coin also features in popular culture. The quarter, as a denomination, appears in everything from vending machines and laundromats to metaphors for value and simplicity. The 1980 edition, while ordinary to most, serves as a reminder of everyday economic life during a transformative decade. The 1980 United States quarter dollar may not be rare or glamorous, but its historical, material, and artistic features make a meaningful piece of modern Americana. Its links to George Washington, its place in a series that began during the Great Depression, and its continued use during a time of political and economic upheaval all contribute to its quiet legacy. Whether held in a collector's album or exchanged at a convenience store, The 1980 quarter is a humble but enduring artifact of the nation's financial and cultural journey.
The 1988 United States quarter dollar, often simply referred to as the 1988 Washington quarter, is a widely circulated coin that carries with it more than just monetary value. It encapsulates a piece of American heritage and numismatic artistry. First introduced in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of George Washington's birth, the Washington quarter became a mainstay in the American coinage system. By 1988, the coin had already been in circulation for over 5 decades, with its obverse featuring the enduring image of the nation's first president, George Washington, remaining virtually unchanged since its debut. The obverse front of the 1988 quarter features a left-facing bust of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. This portrait was based on a bust by French neoclassical sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon. The word liberty is inscribed above Washington's head, while the national motto, "In God We Trust," is positioned to his left. Below the image is the date, 1988, marking the year of minting. To the right, depending on the mint location, appears the mint mark, either a small D for Denver, P for Philadelphia, or occasionally no mint mark at all in earlier years, though 1988 issues from Philadelphia do bear the P. The reverse, back of the quarter, as it stood in 1988, depicts a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings clutching a bundle of arrows in its talons, symbolizing strength and military readiness. Beneath the eagle are 2 olive branches, denoting peace. Above the eagle is the phrase, United States of America, and just below that the Latin phrase, a pluribus unum, out of many, one, a foundational motto of the United States. The denomination quarter dollar is curved along the bottom edge of the reverse. The reverse design was also crafted by John Flanagan, continuing the clean and balanced neoclassical style that characterized much of early 20th century American coinage. Although there would later be design changes in the late 1990s and early 2000s, with the advent of the 50-state quarters program, in 1988 the Washington quarter still adhered to its original artistic form, making it both familiar and historically resonant. The 1988 quarter was minted using the copper-nickel clad composition introduced in 1965, following the removal of silver from circulating coinage due to rising metal prices. Before that, quarters contained 90% silver and 10% copper. However, post-1965 quarters, including those minted in 1988, feature an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. This clad composition resulted in a sandwich effect visible on the coin's edge, where a copper-colored stripe can be seen between 2 silvery layers. The quarter has a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, a thickness of 1.75 millimeters, and a weight of 5.67 grams. Its reeded, grooved edge includes 119 reeds, a traditional feature that helps deter coin clipping and counterfeiting. In 1988, Washington quarters were minted at 3 facilities: the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a P, the Denver Mint, DAW, and the San Francisco Mint, S. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 562 million quarters, while the Denver Mint struck around 596 million. These massive mintages reflect the coin's essential role in daily commerce and the growing U.S. economy in the late 1980s. In addition to circulation strikes, the San Francisco Mint issued special proof versions of the quarter for inclusion in collectors' proof sets. These proof coins bearing the S mint mark were struck using specially polished dies and planchets, resulting in mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. Proof coins are not meant for circulation and are sold directly to collectors by the U.S. Mint. In 1988, the quarter held substantial purchasing power compared to modern times. It could buy a small coffee, a gallon of gas in some areas, or several minutes on a public payphone. It was a critical denomination in vending machines, laundromats, toll booths, arcades, and public transportation systems. The economy of the late 1980s in the United States was marked by technological advancement, deregulation, and consumerism. The quarter dollar, as the second highest denomination in regular U.S. coinage, played a vital role in facilitating small purchases and everyday transactions. The Washington quarter has long served as a patriotic emblem and a functional tool. Its consistent presence in Americans' pockets, registers, and coin jars reinforces its symbolism of national stability and unity. The portrait of George Washington not only commemorates a founding father, but also emphasizes the values he championed: leadership, perseverance, and democratic ideals. The 1988 edition of the quarter sits at an interesting historical junction. It predates the dramatic changes in coin design that would begin a decade later, making it one of the last representations of the classic Washington quarter design. Furthermore, in the broader context of 20th century numismatics, the coin embodies the transition from silver to base metals and the increasing role of the mint in both functional coinage and collectible offerings. In terms of numismatic value, most 1988 quarters in circulated condition hold only face value due to their high mintage and widespread availability. However, there are exceptions. Coins in uncirculated condition, especially those graded MS65 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, can fetch a small premium from collectors. These coins exhibit no wear, strong luster, and sharp detail. Proof quarters from 1988, particularly those still in their original government packaging, are popular among collectors. While not rare, they represent a finer level of mint craftsmanship and are sought after for their aesthetic appeal. Moreover, error coins, those produced with striking or planchet defects, can be especially valuable. Examples may include off-center strikes, double dies, or coins struck on the wrong planchet. While rare, such errors have been documented and are closely watched in numismatic circles. The quarter has also served educational purposes. In classrooms and educational kits, it is used to teach young students about coin values, U.S. history, and civics. The 1988 Washington quarter, bearing the face of a revered American leader, provides a tactile link to the stories of the American Revolution, the Constitution, and the founding principles of the United States. Beyond schools, the quarter is featured in countless moments of everyday life, from being flipped in coin tosses at football games to being used in sidewalk magic tricks, jukeboxes, or slot machines in Las Vegas. Its ubiquity has made it one of the most recognizable and culturally embedded coins in American society. Although the 1988 quarter reflects a continuation of established tradition, it came just a decade before a massive shift in U.S. coinage. In 1999, the U.S. Mint launched the 50-state quarters program, which featured new reverse designs for each state in the Union and revitalized public interest in coin collecting. The program was an enormous success, partly because it allowed everyday Americans to connect with history and geography in a tangible way. The 1988 quarter, therefore, stands as a final chapter in the pre-modern era of quarter design, bridging the old and the new. It represents the last years of a simple, dignified design that had graced American pockets since the Great Depression. The 1988 United States quarter dollar may at first glance seem like just another piece of loose change. But upon closer examination, it reveals layers of artistry, history, and utility. The 1989 United States quarter dollar is a circulating coin that forms part of the Washington Quarter Series, which began in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By 1989, the quarter had long been a mainstay of American coinage. Though it may appear ordinary to some, the 1989 quarter represents a significant piece of American numismatic, economic, and cultural history. Obverse, front. The obverse of the 1989 quarter features a left-facing bust of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, based on a 1785 bust by French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon. Above Washington's head is the word Liberty, a core American ideal. To the lower left is the national motto, In God We Trust, and below the portrait is the year 1989, reverse, back. The reverse depicts a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, clutching a bundle of arrows in its talons, symbolizing military readiness and defense, while below the eagle lies an olive branch representing peace. Above the eagle is the legend, United States of America, and beneath that, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. The denomination quarter dollar is inscribed at the bottom. This reverse design remained unchanged from 1932 through 1998, making 1989 part of a long and stable era of quarter design before the advent of the 50-state quarters program in 1999. Composition 91.67%, copper 8.33%, nickel, cupra-nickel clad. Core, pure copper weight, 5.67 grams diameter, 24.26 mm in thickness, 1.75 mm edge, reeded mint marks. Coins were produced at multiple U.S. mints: P, Philadelphia; D, Denver; S, San Francisco. Proof only. Mint marks are located on the obverse to the right of Washington's ponytail. Mintage and production 1989 saw a robust production of quarters due to the healthy economic activity of the late 1980s. Philadelphia, no mint mark. Over 512 million coins, Denver. D, over 896 million coins. San Francisco, S. Proof only, around 3 million coins. This high mintage makes the 1989 quarter common in circulation even today. The 1989 quarter circulated during the final year of Ronald Reagan's presidency and the beginning of George H.W. Bush's administration. The U.S. economy was expanding, marked by consumerism and a burgeoning technology sector. Internationally, 1989 was a monumental year, especially with the fall of the Berlin Wall, signaling the impending end of the Cold War. In such a context, the imagery on the quarter, especially the eagle, arrows, and olive branch, carried potent symbolism: a country committed to peace, yet strong and ready to defend its ideals. The motto, "In God We Trust," reflected America's enduring spiritual and moral compass, while E Pluribus Unum echoed the nation's diversity and unity. Collector value and condition. The 1989 quarter holds modest numismatic value, mainly due to its large mintage. Circulated examples are typically worth their face value, 25 cents. However, in uncirculated MS or proof PR condition, values can vary MS60 to MS65, mint state. Around 0.50 to 3 MS66 and higher. May fetch up to $10 to $25, depending on quality proof coins, S. Valued higher, especially if they have deep cameo contrast errors, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or planchet issues, can increase a coin's value significantly among collectors. 1989 was among the last decade of the standard Eagle Reverse Washington quarters. Within a decade, the U.S. Mint would introduce the 50-state quarters program, 1999-2008, which revolutionized modern American numismatics and introduced a new era of educational and cultural appreciation through coinage. Thus, the 1989 quarter represents the end of an era, a symbol of continuity, stability, and tradition in American coinage before a new wave of creative expression began. It holds a nostalgic place for many Americans who grew up seeing these coins daily in their pockets, vending machines, and change drawers. The 1989 Washington quarter is more than a piece of metal. It is a physical testament to America's historical continuity, its values of liberty, unity, and strength, and the everyday economy of the late 20th century. While not rare or highly valuable in most cases, it holds deep significance for collectors and citizens alike. Its design reflects the classical ideals of the Republic, and its widespread circulation reflects the vibrant economic engine of the United States in the 1980s. Whether kept in a collection, spent in a store, or tucked into a time capsule, the 1989 quarter continues to echo the enduring presence of George Washington and the ideals he helped shape, etched in metal, passed from hand to hand, from one generation to the next.